into the second game of EDG versus OMG in just a couple of minutes. And yeah, actually we had this vein ramping up quite quickly towards the late game, but this time around, the mid-game spike of Rise was the key to the victory. You definitely had a lot in this game.
It was the Rod of Ages scaling kicking in for both Maokai and Rise in the mid lane. Koro and you both had that stacking up because around like the 19-20 minute mark, the gold was actually pretty even between both teams, but as those items just kept stacking up, Maokai got ridiculously tanky, and his ult you could kind of turn on and off. There's a 20 to 30 second cooldown depending on the level of his ult, so you can it's a much shorter ult cooldown than what you'd see out of Alistar. And Edward Gaming, they did a great job of sort of forcing going to pop his ultimate early, and then backing off and then re-engaging, knowing that Alistar didn't have ult. So maybe a little bit of a champion weakness there that Edward Gaming was exploiting. They used their heavy tank line and hard scaling back line just overwhelm OMG and take out game number 1. So game 1 in the books, looking for OMG to come back, and once again the guy we're looking for OMG to make that happen is Cool. Played Cassidon in game 1 and really never showed up.
Yeah, and actually it's a good point. Gogoing's ultimate was not the best, and it was not always there. Like, I remember this fight in the bottom lane when he got killed by just a Kog'Maw, which should never happen.
So coming into game 2, expect to see probably a ban on the top laners, like we were saying. Don't expect to see those out very often. Maokai and Alistar, pretty big picks, and they're traditionally banned away, but left open that game, and well, we saw which one had a bigger impact. It was definitely Koro 1 on the Maokai. So coming into game 2, what do OMG need to do to come back? Do they just need to get a strong champion for Cool, or maybe shore up their early rotational plays that Edward Gaming were able to use to their advantage?
Well, you still didn't get his Ziggs. It was banned every single game that they played against LGD, so that is a huge thing. And if you get his Ziggs, it is not gonna be a good time for OMG. Also, there's a lot of things that they had to ban, so it's not like all the OP champs from EDG's lineup are gonna disappear if they choose to ban Alistar, Maokai, or Rise. So it still is a tough place to be in for OMG at the moment.
Alright, we're having a little bit of a lag issue, but we haven't hopped quite into Champion Select just yet, so give me one moment while we bring things back up. Apologies for the delay. But yeah, game number 2, it'll be coming up in just one moment. One of the cool features about LPL is not only are there both Chinese and English broadcasts, but you can actually watch individual player views of the games that are also commentated, of course, in Chinese, if you want to check that out. I believe there is a link to that on the Reddit thread for tonight's games. But really cool option that LPL has. If you ever want to just watch one particular player, you can actually make that happen. So let's go ahead and hop back in to the games, into picks and bans for game number 2. OMG versus Edward Gaming. First ban is a Lulu versus either you or possibly even Koro.
Yeah, Lulu was also a huge ban target throughout the previous games of the playoffs, so we definitely should be looking at Lulu bans, at Fizz bans maybe, and definitely this Yasuo to be taken out. And of course, most probably a Ziggs against you. But yeah, there's a lot of mid lane pressure coming up from the bans. Like, we have a Zillion ban, Yasuo and Orianna right now, and there's more to come.
The Zillion ban, you're going to see that almost every single game versus you. You can even ban it versus Cool. They've both played it before. The Orianna ban as well, probably going to be coming out a lot this series. The big picks I'm watching out for is the top lane. Are we going to see a Maokai ban here from Edward Gaming? And the answer is yes. Both top laners that we saw in game 1. Now, let's pick something else here. First pick will be a Braum for Dada, and that is a big source of strength. OMG, in their comeback yesterday versus Starhorn Royal Club, Dada's Braum was actually a big part of that.
Yeah, it actually, okay, it's a Braum for Dada 7, and he's been quite successful with that, but on the other hand, we have FCCF that's been playing Janna in the previous game, and he's the most successful at champions like Thresh or Leona. His Leona at the moment is 7 wins, 0 losses. So that is a scary stat to have on your side. And if EDG can pick an engaging support, just like Thresh or Leona, that FCCF is so proficient at, then OMG's bottom lane is going to be in a little bit of danger.
Now, Cool's locked in the Aurelia for Go-Going, and while Go-Going traditionally favors, things like, big Shyvana picks, has picked up that Aurelia, and I think he played it in 2 of their last games out there, so now we're just waiting for the carry lineups, and Yu is just like, hey, if you're going to let me have Ryze every game, I'm pretty sure he's just going to lock that one in, so the question is this time, OMG get a do-over, or a do-you-over, if you want to shout out their sponsor tag there. Still looking for the answer to use Ryze. They didn't have it in game 1.
Yeah, so talking about Go-Going's Aurelia, yesterday he won 2 games and lost 1 with it, and during the regular split it was 2-2. So that's quite an even champion for him. And yeah, actually talking about Go-Going, he has a negative record on Jax. And Jax and Aurelia are quite similar champs that we see coming out right there. Usually the players who like to play Jax, they also like to play Aurelia. So yeah, Aurelia might be a little bit sloppy for Go-Going, but definitely still a very strong champion.
That's a lock-in on Kha'Zix for San. And if Dada 7 hits a Lee Sin, that would be a Lee Sin jungle with a Kha'Zix mid. Or maybe you bring back Froggen's mid lane Lee Sin, but no, they're switching it up for Cool's Twisted Fate. Oh my gosh. So we could see a Kha'Zix out here. It'll be jungle Kha'Zix for Drug. A very strong carry potential there. But look at EDG's lineup. If you're getting, visions of deja vu, it's probably because, with the exception of their top laner, it's the exact same lineup. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And EDG are going with what works.
Yeah, and it should work once again. And Core 1 on this Shyvana, if he locks it in, that is definitely also a champion that he has had a lot of success on. While on the other hand, actually, we hype up this TF pick definitely because it is an interesting pick. But for Cool, it's been a hit or miss. He can fail it.
Well, we'll see if he does fail it. The big hype for me is the Twisted Fate. Cool has shown to be one of, if not the best Twisted Fate player in LPL this season. It's incredible when he gets it, and he's going to be running Ghost Flash on that as he locks it in. The mid lane versus Use Ryze. That matchup kind of defined game number 1. We'll look to see if it comes back equally as significantly here. Game 2. We'll be hopping into game number 2 here in just a minute, so don't go anywhere. It's the LPL playoffs here in English, broadcast on Twitch TV.
就是厂长跟大哥就在周可儿家门口相遇了，2个人手上都提着一篮礼物。这也不是
老梗，
本来不是优吗？我还听过那个 EDG 在我家门口啊，你家门口，好吧。好的，那么让我们一起来期待 EDG 跟 OMG BO5 第2盘。
Welcome back, everybody, to the 2014 League of Legends Pro League Summer Playoffs. We're here in game number 2, Edward Gaming, up 1-0 versus OMG. Drug gets a little bit of standard action there from the Clear Love as both teams setting up for a very defensive spread start across the map.
Oh yeah, and once again, we might be looking for the team fights from EDG, as always. So Core 1 teleporting to the Dragon Pit. Should happen at around 8 minutes in the game. But we still are at the first minute and not much will be happening as of yet. However, some things are going down.
So in game number 1, we saw an early lane swap, and that was primarily to go for a little bit of an aggressive push into the upper blue buff area. And it actually worked out. They blew Kuro's flash level 1 Now the tides have kind of changed, and instead of going for the same strategy, Edward Gaming will just set up for standard lanes and a very passive start. No early aggression or invades for either team. We're getting it, like I said, standard lanes, so already a big difference. And this will pit Name's Kog'Maw up against the much stronger early game pressure from Zan's Corki, which has a lot of hype behind it.
Oh yeah, Name once again sitting on this Kog'Maw, so it is a thing that's been working out constantly for Name in the bottom lane, so it's always a good pick. Well, on the other hand, as you said, Zan on Corki. Not a lot of Tristana, not a lot of Lucian, not a lot of Graves lately in the playoffs. But we do see this Kog'Maw though. And while I was still happy with the Vayne pick in the previous game, he decided to switch it up a little bit to fit the team comp maybe.
Yeah, the Vayne pick, especially with the Kog'Maw range, just kind of got outclassed there, especially towards the late game team fights. And now Zan will have a lot more range to him. He'll be able to poke out with those the missiles. Still won't get to that point just yet until, of course, they hit level 6. And so just early trading on between pretty much all the lanes. The jungle clear should be a little bit faster for Drug. He'll be able to smite away his red buff ahead of schedule. They're on Clear Love and most likely look towards a roam back around the mid lane. But he has been favoring kind of an early farm style instead of going for those early ganks, which you might actually see from Clear Love.
Yeah, and actually talking about the middle lane, this time around it is you coming out on top a little bit in the trades. So if this Rise gets going again from the very beginning of the game, this is gonna be a scary thing for OMG, definitely.
So in game 1, because of the lane swap, you saw an early level, or not level 1, but an early Dragon go to Edward Gaming. But now with the standard lanes, we should see a much longer lane phase. And what's really exciting about this is you get to see, champion and more importantly player matchups, which is one of my favorite parts about this, because you get to see Cool's Twisted Fate, which is one of, if not his strongest champion, although after his Yasuo performances yesterday, we're just going to say one of his strongest champions, versus Yu's Rise, who was not only very dominant in the lane phase, but came back towards the end of the game with some of the biggest picks that helped get EDG ahead. So in the 1v1, still looking to see jungle pressure impact either lanes. Both junglers, like I said, just favoring this very early game farm style instead of going for any ganks.
Yeah, and while this, I'm also really excited to see this Twisted Fate come out from Cool. His stats in the regular season haven't really been as impressive. 3 wins, 3 losses. It's not a very dominant record. But yeah, talking about the bottom lane, we do have Data 7 on this Braum, so maybe that gives OMG a little bit of a confidence in the bottom lane to not lane swap. But still, it is Zan in a 2v2, and we do know that he's not the best laning carry.
Now, Yu is a little bit low on mana, but with both junglers waiting around this mid lane, we'll see if Clear Love wants to go around very far behind, but Cool is actually pushed up pretty decently far in the lane, so this should bring Clear Love mid to look for a gank, but he's actually not going in for anything crazy. Core actually buys an early pink ward and sets it up. Probably survived there for a long time, but a lot of time wasted for Drug sitting mid.
Yeah, and he doesn't fight anything right there. However, he's sitting on a Kha'Zix. That definitely will be a strong pick later in the game. But still, we are just talking about the things that are going to happen later in the game, as we have a Kog'Maw, an Aurelia, Twisted Fate. So things like that will be ramping up quite slowly. But Clear Love, he should be looking for some early aggression, and he's known for not for pretty much going for it. But as I said in the previous game, he's also been a hit or miss in this jungle, so we'll get to see.
We do have a little bit of stream lag as we wait to load back and everything. Still syncing up. Just a brief moment to get everything back up and running. Something that happens relatively periodically, so bear with us. Everything should be up in just a second. So in the meantime, we turn back to Nero to let us know what's going on while we load back in.
Yeah, so as you said, there's not much to look forward to in the early stages of the game. However, Drug is once again looking for a gank. This time around, he's hiding in the top lane brushes, but still not really being able to pull anything off. So he's losing a lot of golden experience.
You see San going very aggressive, or at least a little bit too far up there in the bottom lane. Forced the Valkyrie out, and still without a lot of jungle pressure from either side. Drug, once again, he's just waiting in the wings. He's been doing that mid lane, didn't pay off. Top lane, and it hasn't paid off yet. We'll see if Going can force Koro into some early aggression. Now we're going to go in. They've got Cool coming in from the mid lane. Ghosting down there through the turret. Cool's tanking it up. He's going to have to drop aggro here in just a second. But with the damage coming down, Going gets barely out of turret range in time. He's going to have to drop that minion aggro. There's a lot of creeps on him. Will he survive? The answer, of course, is yes. Gets away, and now he'll walk back through the turret. Going very low, but first blood, nonetheless, for OMG.
Yeah, it is a first blood, but once again, just look at the amount of pressure that they put on the top lane. EDG have a perfect situation to go for a dragon right now.
Trading a first blood for a dragon, definite win there for Edward Gaming, and just like in game number 1, they will come away with the dragon. So early objective control there. I guess you can consider first blood an objective because it's a big burst of gold, but it actually went in onto drugs, so unless he's able to pump that extra gold that he got into advantages for his lanes, that'll actually be an advantage across the map globally for Edward Gaming, as they all get to share that dragon.
Well, it is a Kha'Zix, so it will at least do something. It will have a little bit of damage, a little bit of tankiness later in the game, but well, Drug will still have to wait a little bit more until he finds that. And Krylov just took this dragon, but hasn't really shown anything on the map. No ganks at all from him yet.
An interesting early build from Cool. He rushed the Ionian Boots of Lucidity, and that's going to allow him a lot more, stun cards, a lot less cooldown on that, so it'll have more stuns in these team fights. And I guess that's okay, but it will create a big power differential between him and you. You will have so much more damage, and we just saw how effective you was at putting that to use in game 1, not only at setting up picks with rune prisms, but following up with just enough damage to chunk people out so that whether it was Drug or Cool, they really couldn't get into strong positions in these team fights. And that early damage for you, see if it pays off. Dragon already down, so what is the next objective that EDG want to go for?
Yeah, as you said, actually, EDG came out on top in this trade, and Dragon for the first blood, and now that I look on you, he has a little bit of farm advantage in the middle lane. And as I said, once again, this Rise will be ramping up, and once again will be quite a scary thing right there. He already has this Tear of the Goddess and will be building up on towards Rod of Ages. So for now, they want to get a little bit more on Name, so his Kog'Maw is safe into the late game, and they will rely a bit on you. But the teleport is burned, and they won't really force out a fight anymore.
Oh, going in the mid lane, the CDR giving Cool another ult. Very, very quickly there in the mid lane, forcing the Ghost and Flash out from used Rise. So Rise very immobile, that's why you run double escape summoners. But now they're both gone, so we'll see if Cool can capitalize on that glacial fissure from Dada in the bottom lane whiffs. So they will not be able to find anything. Do force the Flash out of Name, so nice to make the immobile Kog'Maw a little bit less mobile, taking that out of the picture. And with these big flashes blown, you and Name put big targets for the next time Cool's ultimate's up. See if he can make a play off the back of that in about 60 seconds.
Yeah, that's so unfortunate for OMG's bottom lane once again. They lose the first game, maybe the second game, and it's once again Dada 7 just not doing too much in the bottom lane. Fails a lot of skill shots, so maybe he'll step up in the third game. But I think that against EDG, this might be already too late.
OMG were able to stay even with Edward Gaming up until about the 21-minute mark in game number 1. But it does appear, like you said, Edward Gaming, they're starting to have just straight up better rotations. The decision to go for that early first blood from OMG, while it did work out and it capitalized on Cool's ability to just teleport around the map, was, I mean, it's a very bad timing considering Dragon's up, so we'll see if OMG want to maybe prioritize their timings based around that objective so that Edward Gaming don't come farther and farther ahead. It's something they did in Game 1. They were able to take Dragon number 2 away from Edward Gaming, but with EDG now shifting back towards the mid lane and just focusing on that general area, it's not going to be a place that OMG have a big opportunity. Now, Cool's ult's coming back up. See if he puts it to use.
Well, Koro1 has his teleport up too, so yeah, most probably EDG will be looking for this dragon. But look at Clearlove and you sitting in these brushes.
Cool, clearing out wards. That ward that he just cleared out, placed by you, is to scout out for him roaming to the side of the mid lane, looking for ults, either top or bottom. If you place that ward and you can scout things out, oh, Cool's gonna get snared out there. The stun lands onto Clearlove, prevents him from going on to Cool underneath the turret. Drug's there for the counter, and actually Going's in there, 1v3. They're gonna choose to re-engage this, another stun onto Clearlove, but Drug just gets dunked on. Now Clearlove and Koro trying to run away. Cool's got a stun card locked, but he just can't get back into range. Will the stun card expire? The answer is yes, it will. The flash in from Cool doesn't get a stun card. He will teleport in there looking for the damage on a Koro. He gets it with a stacked deck. Stacked in his favor. Cool grabs a kill of his own.
And it was such a chaotic fight, but in the bottom lane, something might still go down.
Yeah, Going's gonna get behind Name. Now Clearlove's coming back in there, but Going's already committed in there. He's gonna get the Blade Surge, looks for the reset, gets the extra damage onto FCZF. The rocket will land as well, and now it's Clearlove that has to get out of town. Look at that burst damage. Not able to kill him, but it's another 2 kills coming to OMG.
And OMG right now coming out 5-1 on top, and they didn't even get anything from this one. So unfortunate for them. And OMG is in the driver's seat, and the dragon will be spawning in just a couple of seconds, so they definitely have a good opportunity to take this one home.
EDG come back out of base, and very similar builds across the board. You can see Trinity Forces being worked on for both AD carries, although prioritizing the Phage for Corki, a little bit of Sheen and Zeal action there for Name. Now top lane, Koro getting completely chunked down. Drug's gonna dash in onto you, just pushing it back to the turret. No follow-up from Cool. We didn't really have any way to close that gap.
So 4 kills advantage right now. We have 2-0-2 on this Twisted Fate. So now we can see that Cool is going to have a successful match on that champion. While on the other hand, you didn't really get too much. Even though he was leading in farm, even though he was already stacking this tier of the goddess, right now he stopped. And he's not really gonna get too much anymore.
Sand Valkyrying out after overextending just a little bit into Name and FCZF. You'll notice FCZF hasn't quite hit that Magi's power spike that we saw out of Game 1. Still wondering whether or not he'll go for that, as he is not quite there just yet. It worked out, and he actually wound up getting that death cap towards the end. But as EDG come down for Dragon, we'll see if Cool can put that pressure on. We got action in the bottom lane, though. Sand's gonna Valkyrie in on a Name. He's got the stun card from Cool. Destiny sealing the fate, or twisting it there, of Name down in the bottom. And that's gonna set OMG up for a Dragon. See if EDG still want to fight this after losing their AD carry.
Yeah, the Dragon. Well, EDG is still looking for this one. Can't really find it in the end. But OMG, they're definitely looking healthy at the moment. They are getting all the objectives that they want. And as we said, Drug, he got the first blood, so we'll get to see if he manages to benefit a little bit on that. It definitely worked out pretty well in that fight. He dealt a lot of damage, and this Kha'Zix is going to be a scary thing, combined with the Twisted Fate especially.
3-0-2 the score for Cool. He's been very effective globally, and both of his last 2 ultimates used to capitalize on kills, able to assassinate Name there in the last fight, set the rest of his team up for an early Dragon. So, or at least for a Dragon response after EDG got the first one. Koro was left alone up in the top lane, didn't use his teleport to come join that fight. So he was able to take that top lane turret down. Actually, going there just in the nick of time. He will Blade Surge in there after a nice C10 style combo. Koro down to half hit points.
4k gold at you right now. We do have 3 assists on San though. He didn't get killed any single time. While on the other hand, Name hyped up as one of the best AD carries in the world, as the best AD carry in the LPL. Not having a great game this time around. So again, 0-2 with no assist still.
With the potential for 3 Trinity forces this game. So the Trinity of Trinities, you have 2 of them out there already. Of course, Going is going to be a little bit further behind, although he's 2-0-3, so he should hit that power spike pretty early. But Koro is actually the big sort of weak spot this game. He's supposed to be this big tank for his team, just like he was in Game 1 on Maokai, but he's actually 30 CS behind Going and has built nothing but armor so far, so no additional HP other than just from his Doran's items. And now Cool's looking for the ultimate. He's going bottom lane. He gets the stun on Name. The Phosphorus bomb's going to land. The flash in through the turret. Now Cool got to get out of dodge here. Lands the stun onto Koro. Keep in mind, Koro has no additional magic resist. Now Cool is going to go down. He gets one last stun card off before he dies. Now OMG forced to retreat. Yu is running in there, but can he find the Rune Prism to set up for this pickup? Big Glacial Fissure backwards from Dada7, but FCZF is going to flash in for the slow. Dada will counter flash out, but he's going to get knocked up there from FCZF, who will capitalize on Dada7 for the kill. A big 3 kills come back towards Edward Gaming. Getting right back in the kills.
But it still is gonna be an extended fight, since in EDG just don't want to give up. Finally found something that might give them some gold.
Trying to get back in here? Wait, what? He's going into 3... he had no backup going in there, and he actually might still live, but look at you, he's coming in there, he's got the unstoppable power. Going! Gets out alive. Oh my gosh. Now Edward Gaming trying once again to retreat here. We'll see if Drug can make something happen. Going back in, and now Drug trying to help him get a kill there. Still no kills left to be picked up here. Cool's ultimate's almost back off cooldown, and I was waiting for the Destiny back behind everybody, but it's still got about 20 seconds, so crazy back and forth fight. Going is absolutely nuts, dashing into 3 champions, but he made it work and he turned it back around for his team.
Yeah, and finally EDG did find something, but they're falling behind in the objectives. They got this first dragon of the game, but they didn't get any single turret. And even though Name got 2 assists off of that fight, he's still sitting at 0-3, and it's not where you want to have this Kog'Maw.
Yeah, with all that pressure bottom lane, it's keeping Name out of a safe position to farm. It's allowing good push towards the middle lane, and allowing Cool and friends to take down their 3rd turret of the game. So OMG really ahead all across the board. They've got a top laner who is ridiculous. Trinity Force. Power Spike coming in for Going. Cool has had an incredible amount of pressure out on the map so far, and San has been able to, in conjunction with Cool, just completely take Name out of this fight. Going about to take Koro 1 out of this fight. The TP is coming in top lane. Cool's going behind enemy lines, but once again he can't find the stun just yet. Dada7 should be dead here. Dada7 getting taken out, so Edward Gaming find a nice pick around the dragon area, but it's not up for another minute, so they'll have to come back for an attempt at that. Meanwhile, top lane, Cool and Going, they push Koro off of his 2nd tier turret. Take it down with ease.
Yeah, but they don't really get the kills, so it's time for EDG to try and come back with the kills. But they actually need some gold because they are falling quite far behind right now. 4-0 in turrets in favor of OMG. 4.5k gold lead is still there. It is the 20th minute though, so still 5 minutes more, and there is going to be the Baron throw possibility.
Baron, an essential staple of LPL play. If anybody watching is new to LPL, Baron's like the 4th inhibitor. You have to take it down before you end the game. But honestly, it's mostly just used as a baiting tool. It's like, hey, if you're ahead, you go to Baron. If you're behind, you try to Baron, then force things into a team fight. It's just team fights all the time. Edward Gaming not coming out on top in very many of these last few team fights, and while Koro has finally picked up some his first big tank item, he's just so far behind on that power spike that he's going to be going down to a lot of magic damage that San and Cool should be putting out, and it's still not going to help him against Going, who is just miles ahead. Dragon.
Yeah, and actually, looking at you, he once again comes back to being this strong Rise, even though he was 0-1-1. He was not really too much. He comes back to a 2-1-2, has this Rod of Ages, has this Tear of the Goddess, and that is when you started completely destroying OMG in the previous game. So that might once again be the case. However, this didn't happen as of yet. So we're waiting for the next team fight to see if EDG have what it takes to come back into this game.
Recall back to base for Koro. His teleport's up. Goings is about to be up in about 20 to 30 seconds. So gotta keep an eye on that as far as, global pressure and mobility. Because Going is way off to the side. He's deep in that side lane, and if EDG are able to force a fight in the next 10 seconds or so, they'll be able to do it without Going's presence there. But instead, they're going to send Name to split push against him, and I'm not sure how well that's going to work if Going gets one of these like hyper-aggressive moments like he had in that last fight and just decides to go in for the 1v1.
Alright, so Name once again getting some assists, and we do have the Magi Souls here on FZZF again. And as I said, I'd love to see him on a Leona, on a Thresh, on a champion that can engage perfectly, because that's his nature. And he's sticking to this Janna with the Magi Souls deal with the AP. But, well, he once bought this Magi Souls deal on a Janna when they were behind. He was a little bit of the comeback that EDG made in the end. So maybe this tiny bit of AP will help them out in the fights to win them.
Well, it wasn't a tiny bit of AP in game one. He went for a Rabadon's death cap and actually wound up getting it there towards the end. FCZF, it's got a little bit of a crazy take on how to play supports, but he's been making it work out. Now, Drug is able to clear out some ward coverage, and now it's actually OMG in a very similar Baron warding situation that Edward Gaming had for game one. They're able to set up lots of great pink ward coverage, clear out the wards around it, and now they are the ones in the driver's seat around that Baron area. They've already taken down all the top lane turrets, and so now really they're just looking for a beneficial position. Koro and Going splitting bottom, both with teleport available. Pressure mounting around the Baron area.
Yeah, the wards are there for OMG, so most probably they will be looking for this one to close out the game because they don't have a huge advantage.
Oh, big flash is in, teleport's coming in, but Drug's just blowing FZZF apart. Now we got looking for the huge glacial fissure. Koro's right there, and he gets a nice Dragon's Descent on out, but just look at the area of effect damage coming in. OMG, they're gonna find one. Now Drug might actually die there, but it's at the cost of Koro's life, son. He's flashing in there, but big one will land there. Cool, and Going. He gets the reset off the creep. There's one Blade Surge. Looking for Blade Surge number 2. Use kiting backwards, and it's going to go down to the Acathian surprise from Name. So it's a 2 for 3 exchange across the board. You very low, but he does survive. And what can OMG get off the back of that?
Yeah, and it looked like they will want to be looking for a Baron starting a fight in this exact place, but it transferred onto the base of EDG. So in the end, most probably they will get a turret, but not the Baron as of yet.
FCCF has no defensive items other than just that the standard Sidestone. And when Drug and Cool decided who they were going to blow up, I've never seen more red in a health bar than FCZF, so kind of got caught looking, and he was the first to fall. OMG overdove just a little bit there, going pretty deep inside the enemy base, led to going down there, but still pretty impressive team fighting. You can see when OMG want to start a fight, they get a very nice pick to start it off of Drug just blowing FCCF up.
Yeah, so unfortunately FCCF goes down a little bit too quick in the fight. He even used his ultimate but wasn't able to do anything with that. So EDG, that's not really the support that they're looking for. No big CC because he's dead in the fight. Can't even stay alive, and if he just gets caught, he transforms into Data 7, and right now it's OMG who come out on top.
OMG, they find a nice pick on the ward, but look at the engage coming in. San, he's got a nice wall in front of him set up by Clearlove, and so he's going to be the one DPSing from the backlines. Now Drug is actually in there, Koro pretty tanky, but look at Cool coming back in for the re-engage. Koro gets exploded from all the magic damage, and OMG, off the engage from Clearlove, find 2 kills of their own, back on Edward Gaming.
Oh yeah, and OMG just finding whatever they want. They will secure yet another turret. And 6-1 is not really the score that EDG would like.
Oh, Name walks forward to try to find a pick onto San, or try to find a pick onto Cool, but San just comes in there, and now Drug deleting FCZF again. OMG, I mean, what's happening to Edward Gaming? They're trying to get these 1v1 picks, but they just walk too far forward.
Yeah, and that's in Name positioning, so that's exactly it. Name hyped up as the best AD carry, and it's just not his game. He's stepping too far forward. 5 deaths on him is not the thing that you usually see. It's one game on 100 that he plays not so well with the positioning, and that's the turret that even makes taking the turret easier for OMG. So what problem would it be to take a Baron at this stage for them? I don't think that EDG can contest for anything at the moment.
Well, OMG were able to recall back to base, and just look at the power spikes that you're starting to see. There's a needlessly large rod on top of the completed Lichbane, Zanya's Hourglass, and Void Staff completed for Cool, who is a monster right now. You've got 3 items there for Corki, who did choose to go for the magic penetration boots, so we'll be relying on the hybrid damage coming out there, not just his auto attacks. And really, for Edward Gaming, I mean, they put their hopes in maybe like a Medjai's. They have Trinity Bork for Name, which is, I guess, pretty decent for this point in the game. And while Yu is still almost as strong as he was in Game 1, Koro is just not the tank line they need.
Oh yeah, definitely. And Koro is just the guy that should have his teleports on point and should force the fight for EDG and should secure the dragons. But it just happened in the early game, and then they got completely smashed by Cool. His Twisted Fate is just great this game. All the Destiny gates that are coming out are definitely on point. No, OMG, they will be setting themselves up for this Baron.
Now, Edward Gaming, they've taken a step back from Baron, which does give OMG the opportunity to clear everything out. The positioning that they had there at the bottom lane turret may be haunting them once again, as they're nowhere near this Baron buff, and OMG are just starting it up. The marauding Cool down there in the bottom lane actually drew most of Edward Gaming back, and they're choosing to give up this Baron. Go back to base, and oh, a nice ultimate out there from Cool. Keeps him away from Koro, who actually, I believe, used his ultimate to try to stop him from TPing out.
Yeah, it is OMG with the Baron buff that will be pushing the middle lane, and that is EDG that cannot stop them. And now Yu is pretty stoppable, so his nickname doesn't really make a lot of sense. But, well, OMG, he might find a fight right there in the base of EDG, because I don't think that EDG will want to give away their inhibitors for free.
Well, Dado went for a relatively preemptive ultimate, but now look at the picks that are starting to come out there off of just a stun card from Cool. You're already starting to see that damage come up. Now, Cool gets hit by a Rune Prism, hits the Zonius, gets knocked up again, but flashes right back out to the back of the fight. Now, with the dunk down, once again, this forms a nice wall for the backline of OMG. The Cool's just hiding behind. Now the double Blade Surge on in there from Going, trying to set something up. You have the Blade of the Rune King active used there by Name, just to kite himself back to safety. A big engage, and a failure of that Valkyrie doesn't matter. The game's over. OMG, bring it back.
Yeah, that's a surrender in the playoffs game. So, wow, that's a big deal for OMG. Definitely showing the strength right now. And Cool, his Twisted Fate is just really strong.
Yeah, both games have been not necessarily decided, but have had incredibly impactful performances for both mid laners. Game 1, Yu's Rise, Deathless for the longest time, made a big difference. And Game 2 is all about Cool. His ultimate's incredible, his gold incredibly high, and more importantly, just his stun cards functioning much the same way as Yu's Rune Prisms did in Game 1's. starting those fights off. So great performances by them. We'll hype the games up and come back in about 10 minutes for our third game of this best of 5 playoff series. It's the LPL being broadcast here in English on Twitch TV. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We have Rise every game. I'm pretty sure he's just going to lock that one in. So the question is this time, OMG get a do-over or a do-you-over? If you want to shout out their sponsor tag there. Still looking for the answer to use Rise. They didn't have it in game 1.
Yeah, so talking about GoGoing's Irelia, yesterday he won 2 games and lost 1 with it, and during the regular split it was 2-2. So that's quite an even champion for him. And yeah, actually talking about GoGoing, he has a negative record on Jax. And Jax and Irelia are quite similar champs that we see coming out right there. Usually the players who like to play Jax, they also like to play Irelia. So yeah, Irelia might be a little bit sloppy for GoGoing, but definitely still a very strong champion.
That's a lock-in on Kha'Zix for San. And if Dada 7 hits a Lee Sin, that would be a Lee Sin jungle with a Kha'Zix mid. Or maybe you bring back Froggen's mid lane Lee Sin, but no, they're switching it up for Cool's Twisted Fade. Oh my gosh. So we could see a Kha'Zix out here. It'll be jungle Kha'Zix for Drug. A very strong carry potential there. But look at EDG's lineup. If you're getting visions of Deja Vu, it's probably because with the exception of their top laner, it's the exact same lineup. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And EDG are going with what works.
Yeah, and actually it's a good point. GoGoing's ultimate was not the best, and it was not always there. Like, I remember this fight in the bottom lane when he got killed by just a Kog'Maw, which should never happen.
So coming into game 2, expect to see probably a ban on the top laners, like we were saying. Don't expect to see those out very often. Maokai and Alistar, pretty big picks, and they're traditionally banned away, but left open that game, and well, we saw which one had a bigger impact. It was definitely Korra 1 on the Maokai. So coming into game 2, what do OMG need to do to come back? Do they just need to get a strong champion for Cool, or maybe shore up their early rotational plays that Edward Gaming were able to use to their advantage?
Well, you still didn't get his Ziggs. It was banned every single game that they played against LGD, so that is a huge thing. And if you get his Ziggs, it is not gonna be a good time for OMG. Also, there's a lot of things that they had to ban, so it's not like all the OP champs from EDG's lineup are gonna disappear if they choose to ban Alistar, Maokai, or Rise. So it still is a tough place to be in for OMG at the moment.
Alright, we're having a little bit of a Cool. They've both played it before. The Orianna ban as well, probably going to be coming out a lot this series. The big picks I'm watching out for is the top lane. Are we going to see a Maokai ban here from Edward Gaming? And the answer is yes. Both top laners that we saw in game 1. Now, let's pick something else here. First pick will be a Braum for Dada, and that is a big source of strength. OMG, in their comeback yesterday versus Starhorn Royal Club, Dada's Braum was actually a big part of that.
Yeah, it actually, okay, it's a Braum for Dada 7, and he's been quite successful with that, but on the other hand, we have FCCF that's been playing Janna in the previous game, and he's the most successful at champions like Thresh or Leona. His Leona at the moment is 7 wins, 0 losses. So that is a scary stat to have on your side. And if EDG can pick an engaging support, just like Thresh or Leona, that FCCF is so proficient at, then OMG's bottom lane is going to be in a little bit of danger.
Now, Cool's locked in the Irelia for GoGoing, and while GoGoing traditionally favors, things like, big Shyvana picks, has picked up that Irelia, and I think he played it in 2 of their last games out there, so now we're just waiting for the carry lineups, and Yu is just like, hey, if you're gonna let
into the second game of EDG versus OMG in just a couple of minutes. And yeah, actually we had this Vayne ramping up quite quickly towards the late game, but this time around the mid-game spike of Rise was the key to the victory. You definitely had a lot in this game.
It was the Rod of Ages scaling kicking in for both Maokai and Rise in the mid lane. Koro and you both had that stacking up because around like the 19-20 minute mark, the gold was actually pretty even between both teams, but as those items just kept stacking up, Maokai got ridiculously tanky, and his ult you could kind of turn on and off. There's a 20 to 30 second cooldown depending on the level of his ult, so you can it's a much shorter ult cooldown than what you'd see out of Alistar. And Edward Gaming, they did a great job of sort of forcing going to pop his ultimate early, and then backing off and then re-engaging, knowing that Alistar didn't have ult. So maybe a little bit of a champion weakness there that Edward Gaming was exploiting. They used their heavy tank line and hard scaling back line just overwhelm OMG and take out game number 1. So game 1 in the books, looking for OMG to come back, and once again the guy we're looking for OMG to make that happen is Cool. Played Cassidon in game 1 and really never showed up. Flag issue, but we haven't hopped quite into champion select just yet, so give me one moment while we bring things back up. Apologies for the delay. But yeah, game number 2, it'll be coming up in just one moment. One of the cool features about LPL is not only are there both Chinese and English broadcasts, but you can actually watch individual player views of the games that are also commentated, of course, in Chinese, if you want to check that out. I believe there is a link to that on the Reddit thread for tonight's games. But really cool option that LPL has if you ever want to just watch one particular player. You can actually make that happen. So let's go ahead and hop back in to the games, into picks and bans for game number 2. OMG versus Edward Gaming. First ban is a Lulu versus either you or possibly even Koro.
Yeah, Lulu was also a huge ban target throughout the previous games of the playoffs, so we definitely should be looking at Lulu bans, at Fizz bans maybe, and definitely this Yasuo to be taken out. And of course, most probably a Ziggs against you. But yeah, there's a lot of mid lane pressure coming up from the bans. Like we have a Zillion ban, Yasuo and Orianna right now, and there's more to come.
The Zillion ban, you're going to see that almost every single game versus you. You can even ban it versus